This is your daily market review for Monday, April 29th, 2024. Let's go.
Hey everyone, this is my channel to help investors and traders develop a probability-based mindset to succeed. Also try and keep friends informed of what's going on in the markets and the economy, and also a little real estate content as well.
This is your daily market review for Monday, April 29th, 2024. Hopefully you're having a great day, had a great week. Again, was in Orlando for the Pace Morby Squad Up Creative Finance meeting. Awesome stuff. Again, next level of finance coming. We'll be creative going between buyers and sellers. No need to go to the bank. And when I say get rid of the bank has always been an option, but with higher interest rates and people having low interest rates, oh my God, there's so many good deals and opportunities going out there, and it's going to benefit you, the buyer and the seller, and the folks that follow this channel, because it's something I did back in the 2000s, and only can you do it now, in my opinion, with the greatest deal, because we're not getting low interest rates again, but you want to be able to find deals where you can take over. Again, we can go into that stuff later, but if you're new to the channel, check out the Discord room, link description below. Again, it's the Monday, Tuesday before OPEX. Before the FOMC meeting. It's gonna be slow and choppy and boring. Be careful out there. Check out the weekend review. Talked about that. Not expecting a lot until then. Again, if you want to chat, check out a Zoom. Hit me up. Let's talk. Let's chat. See how I can help you. Check out thetradingagent.com. Again, I need to revamp this a little bit more. Also, I appreciate all the love, support, generous donation. Again, get your recommended readings. Get your Marcus accounts, and just don't be prepared for volatility. I think it's going to pick up in time. Again, if you haven't watch this video, how to trade the Monday and Tuesday before. I'm telling you, it's liquid gold. If it is liquid, I guess. Also follow on Twitter, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell on YouTube as well. Posting the trades that we're watching. Again, we're seeing jobs cuts ramp up. All right, Fed meeting on Wednesday. Expecting nothing. Keep that in mind. We're expecting maybe rate cuts later in the year, but if the market's going to cut, or the Feds are going to cut, then you're going to see market weakness. Just be careful out there. Bitcoins, we talked about, between 61,000 and 71,000, seems to be stuck. Oil, pull back initially on some of the rate hike stuff potential, but now it's holding up. Natural gas, again, I like these levels long term. I don't know if you're going to get rich in the next 3, 6, 12 months at the lows moving quickly, but I do like the downside is limited. I think there's massive upside to natural gas in time. I think we'll be a huge exporter of the natural gas. All right, dollar. Tight range. Watch this. Watch it. High and tight. I might probably fill some gaps and pull back on the Fed stuff. Would not be surprised. TLT starting to gain a little traction potentially. Really need to get over this 89 levels. Again, posted this all on Twitter. The VIX at the 200-day. Interesting. Going into that meeting, I mean, if we fill the gap, that would be mind-boggling. Vixen's not acting right for some reason. But anyway, we'll get back to that. Man, does it come back down to the 75? Again, this is why you watch the channel. You look at these levels. You go, okay, I'll watch this stuff. This is what I'm looking for. SPY, SPY guy. Check this out, right? 20-day said, don't also be surprised. Maybe we test this 512 area. Again, watch the ranges. I mean, just keep an eye on it. Here you go, QQQ. I mean, what's support now is resistance, right? This is all resistance. Is it possible? 20-day, all these levels? Abso-freaking-lutely. IWM, we talked about it, bouncing down here. Okay, here you go. Coming into some levels, some areas. I mean, 200 area was very important then. Why wouldn't it be now? Obviously. Gold, talked about chopping around, waiting for the Feds. Silver, waiting for the Feds. I mean, if the Feds end up pausing and talk more bearish, I mean, wouldn't surprise if we see the gold and silver complex get absolutely just smashed. GDX, again, I like dust up here with a tight stop. GDXJ, same kind of thing. I don't think we're going to break out. We have some big ass candles showing tops, but it doesn't mean you can't retest and chop. We've talked about that. That's part of the game. Chop, retest, bottoms, lows, all the time. You love to see Vs, but you don't really see them that often. Maybe 10, 15% of the time. AEM, that kind of could be a V blow up. That's interesting. AG's been chopping around. Got up into the, like almost 8s, 9s. Chopping. Again, all the miners look very similar. Newmont popped on earnings. Not really someone much follow through the last couple of days. Keep an eye on it, because again, I could see the 40s, mid 40s. I mean, this thing is undervalued in my opinion, but all these names are long term. Silver, PAAS, chopping around here. Taiwan Semi, down, up, chopping. Again, I'm not surprised that some of these names oversold, rallying back. 20-day for the good old Taiwan semi-micron. I mean, this to me had a huge run. Now it's chopping around. Be careful. AM Dizzle. Chop, chop. We talked about this thing topping out. I mean, that looks like the gold candle, silver stuff. And yeah, I'd be watching this 160s, mid 160s if you get the bounce. NVIDIA holding up pretty well, down, held the 20-day. Okay. It is earnings, more massive earnings this week. Just keep that in mind. Just absolutely keep that in mind. I know there's a lot of folks who are active trying to overtrade, but just be careful in front of earnings. SMC meets CI. We talked about holding down here, filling the gap. So far, so good. I mean, could it retest 1,000 level? Anything's possible. Intel, this thing has been absolute dog crap. Gaps down on earnings. Man, it should chop. I mean, it should. If it doesn't, that tells you there's some massive problems. SMH, we talked about breaking the levels, rallying back. Here you go. Watch the 219, 220. Adobe, gaps down on earnings, been an absolute dogger, just lagging. And now it's just chopping, trying to hold base at an old trend line. Apple rallied. Interesting. It has earnings after the close Thursday. Little gap up today. Not much follow through. Again, I'd love to see the 180 area to add some shorts. Amazonian, that's got earnings coming up if I remember correctly. Yep, tomorrow afternoon. Keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on it. 20-day. I mean, it feels like it's topped, y'all. But you never know with earnings. You never know. Meta, this one gap down on earnings. Chopping around. I mean, I'd love to see the 450, 460. We talked about if you want to add to shorts. CRM, gap down on earnings. I mean, you've seen the phase here, a lot of chopping. Google, we talked about, look at this pop on earnings. It felt like very much like a top. Look at that, like very topish action, right? Blow off top, high volume, down today. Microsoft, gaps up on earnings. Again, a lot of giving back here. Filling the gap here, but it's 399 area. We talked about crucial, NDAQ. Again, I think the future of the NASDAQ exchange is going to be crap when commodities start flying and nobody's going to be buying tech. So it makes sense why I'd fail at resistance. MicroStrategy had earnings after close. I think I don't know if they've announced yet, but it's chopping around. Oh, sorry, 1245. It's got to hold. I mean, Bitcoin chopping around basing makes me think that this name can kind of just chop around in $100, $200 range. Netflix gap down on here, another gap down on earnings. Holding 100-day. Roblox, this thing's been just flatlining. Pan W, again, I like this because Pelosi is going to buy more of this probably. I mean, we know she's a fan of the cybersecurity. She knows what's going on. Again, it's much easier to buy to me after the market has done some actual dropping. It hasn't really dropped much. I mean, a little bit. Tesla gapped up today on China's going to let them use their autonomous vehicles. Hits the 100-day. Great. China's going to rip them off. How awesome is that? DKNG, my man, wants me to look at this. Jay Solstice. We talked about this potentially, again, like the peak of gambling is like March Madness going into the playoffs in the first couple of weeks. And now first rounds are going to be over and the gambling starts quieting down and there's not much till football. I'd be watching 45. I know they have earnings coming up, so let's just be careful on that. I like that as a short. Airbnb, kind of chopping around near the highs. Costco, we talked about this drop, pop back to the 20-day chopping. I mean, it's basing. It's one of those stocks that could just be waterlogged. That's what I've thought. Starbucks, talked about this being a piece of junk. Broke trend, chopping around. Now you just oversold bounce. Federal Express, gaps up on earnings, gives it back. Now chopping at the gap. Not surprised. Caterpillar rose into earnings, gaps down on earnings, and then has 3 green bars. I'd be watching the 350s. If it gets above 350s, maybe it can make new high in the 20-day. But if not, that would be a great short, especially coming off the lows that quickly. Let me go back to that. Coming off, so when you gap down on earnings and then you rip back, that gap, these gaps, this area is going to find sellers. I think that's an easy short when it gets there. If it doesn't get there, well, then it wasn't that strong. Nucor, gap down in earnings, chopping around. Letter X, chopping around at the lows. Again, they're not going to get bought by Nippon. I don't think there's a ton of downside, though. VALE, we talked about global growth, commodity names. I mean, somebody's buying this stuff, but it's just not acting well. I would let it play out. Arrow, 21. This is got to get over this 21s. I mean, it's been perfectly technically hitting trend lines, bouncing around, hitting areas. Again, watch the 22 area. CCJ, again, I'm not a big fan of Goldman upgrading at the highs. After a huge move, do not be surprised if it needs to consolidate. CF, we like ag names, right? We like ag. It's chopping. Mosaic, we like this stuff. Let it chop. NTR, we like this stuff. I think it had earnings. No, maybe, I don't know. It's holding up. I mean, again, these names, I don't think there's a ton of downside, but I don't think there's any real upside either. AA Aeron, here we go. Watch the 37s, 38s. I mean, could it start ripping? I mean, it's always possible. Again, it's just tough to trust the commodity names because, again, they throw the baby out with the bathwater. When the market gets flushed, nothing's safe, y'all. XLF popped up, still stuck. Nothing. JP Mo, nice little, again, we talked about these being oversold, taking some profits. Now they're getting a little tired again. I mean, again, who carries the brunt of all the global growth and issues? Global growth issues? The banks. Morgan Stanley chopping around. Bank of America, chopping around. Holding up pretty well. Got to give it credit where credit's due, right? Goldman Sachs, I thought it was toast. Look at this. It comes down and it comes back. Coming to the next trend line. Keep an eye on this. Keep an eye on. There's like some old trend. Man, how old is that trend line? Where does it come from? I mean, it goes from. Did this get? Yeah. Wow. This just goes back and back and back. Close enough for government work. Keep an eye on this. That might be the upside near term. I mean, here's the all-time highs, right? Man, we're over them. Congratulations, Goldman Snacks. New highs. Is this sustainable? I mean, again, if they're selling all their stock to CCJ to their clients and getting positioned for bigger moves later, they're probably looking good. KRE, we talked about junior banks just not looking so hot. Talked about this over and over and over and over and over again. Be careful out there, okay? XBI, we talked about this being a name that needs to be rising. Junior bios not acting well, dangerous. However, oversold, so could it bounce, right? Talked about the housing index, just watching this because of these gap downs. Now filling back into the gap. I mean, could you head and shoulders up here around 107? Absolutely keep an eye on it. Solar, again, solar's a dog. We've talked about this being a rough, but it's oversold, down a lot, and earnings coming up. Just keep an eye on these names. They're any major pop or shorts. We talked about that. Any major pop, in my opinion. For solar, this one is holding up better than the other, so be careful. Man, is it going to retest up here? That's what I'd be watching for if you want to trade it. If not, just leave them alone. HYG, corporate debt. I mean, I've said you got to be high out of your mind to be buying this stuff. You got to be smoking that Colorado funk. Please be careful with that stuff. Oil. Again, I just don't see it going nuts unless the Feds go Fed pivot, and I don't see crazy downside because we got to refill the SPR. So it's like a nice little middle, right? Natural gas, again, I don't like the UNG, but I do like shorting KOLD. Tells you this thing is a decaying piece of crap. Any short, again, anywhere near 80. And if it happened to rally higher because of the market getting crushed and that came up, okay, be careful. Not a problem. That's part of the game. But just watch. I mean, again, I like shorts on big bounces on that. XOP filled the gaps in the 160s, pulling back. Man, nice. It's like red to green. All right, watch the 160s. Exxon Mobilev. Again, just throwing out stupid names. It's been holding up pretty damn well. It's up near the old resistance zone. Meaning this is a monthly trend line actually in yellow. Keep an eye on it. So hit chopping here is good for them. Occidental. Again, I like these names all long term, but on pullbacks. This has been the Buffett trade zone. We'll see. If it breaks out, it breaks out. You know, we've talked about the gasoline names leading down. Okay. They're not really bouncing that strong. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Someone will get mad and go, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. All right. And they let up, right? They let up. They top first. And leading down. CVE, this has been a good one. Jay Solstice and the crew pulling this one out, talking about this down here. Again, get in the Discord room. There's some great people posting there. I appreciate you guys. They're freaking amazing, man. I love it. I love y'all's posts. Again, even if we don't agree, just looking at stuff. I mean, everyone has ideas. Like, that's why one set of eyes is not better than 20 pairs of eyes. So you guys searching trades out and posting them. Love it. Watching that area. Again, last but not least, EQT and Flex LNG. I like these names. EQT, man, I'm really waiting for them to get that merger and see what happens with the stock. And then Flex LNG, again, I think we'll be natural gas exporters. I think this thing has like a 11% dividend yield, something crazy. It's strong. So if you have any questions, please reach out. I appreciate it, you guys. Sorry again, I was out of town. I was in Orlando for this Pace Morby Squad Up Creative Finance Group seminar. Again, all week. Good stuff. I've known about this stuff for a while, but again, I want to bring more value to you guys because there's going to be opportunities to buy properties without traditional financing. And I'm telling you, if you can take over someone's mortgage who has a 2 to 3% interest rate, who's stuck or has equity, but they're like, hey, again, they have noticed that they're not in a rush, and they say want to sell it for 50, 100 grand more, but you agree to some creative finance deal where again you keep the payments and then you can cash flow. And who cares if you cash flow thousands of dollars, like hundreds, thousands of dollars a month, but then have to agree to a future purchase price $100,000 higher in 5 years? Who cares? You're going to gain all that equity, right? Potentially. Again, every market's different. It's hard to explain all of this because there's a million ways to create a finance. If you've ever been in commercial real estate, you know there's many ways to structure deals, and creative finance is just basically, as they're structuring it, we're talking about in the real world now, it's the same as what's going on in commercial real estate. And I'm telling you, it's all legal, but people get really butthurt about it because it puts all the real estate agents out of business. It takes the banks out of it. And that's the thing. The banks want to be the source of everything, and so do real estate agents. Again, as a real estate agent, I love helping you out, but if I can help you find a deal and you can do all the work yourself, do it. And if you want to pay me to help you out, even better. But either way, like, empower yourself. All right, we'll talk to you guys and gals later. Peace.